This is the Extra Point Podcast from Arizona's family.
Well, it's been the story that has dominated Arizona sports this week we needed something to really stew on after the Suns' playoff loss, so we found a story that looked even more depressing for a moment, but maybe some hope today. We bring in our good friend Dennis Welch here on the Extra Point Podcast, our political editor, talking sports, making huge sports news today.
What am I doing here talking about sport ball?
Well, you know,
I'm a politics guy.
I was thinking I could come on your political podcast. I have some opinions, so maybe we could cross promote here.
All right, we'll swap out here. We'll swap out.
But man, you made some big news today. Arizona sports is taking your tweet and running with it. So the Arizona Coyotes, I thought they were gone. I thought they were gone after Tempe said no to their new arena. You got some news we can use today that maybe, just maybe, there might be another spot for them.
Yeah, and I was like a little surprised that it took off so much because the Coyotes, from what I understand, yesterday was saying they've engaged local partners, so they were making it clear that they'd been, sniffing around other areas. But I got a source over at City of Mesa was speaking with them and just kind of threw it out there. It's like, what you heard from the Coyotes? Well, they reached out, yesterday, a day after Tempe defeated, the arena deal at the polls, and said that, they reached out. Now, what I've been reporting tonight is yes, that happened. There's a big warning, big caution here that comes with that is you are a long ways away from getting to that point because a lot has to happen in Mesa before you can get there. And from what I understand, the team looking at other areas as well around the valley, and there's still the potential they could leave the state.
Well, and they have been a long ways away since I moved here in 2006. There's just been one guy after another coming in to save the day. There's a new plan, and it just seems to sputter. And so I am gun shy. I take a lot of pride that we are a town that has the four big ones here and professional men's and women's basketball and professional men's and now women's soccer and a golf tournament and the Super Bowl and the Final Four and all the colleges, and I could go on and on and on. But as far as just the potential in Mesa, so what's that look like politically? Will it be a similar situation where you this has to go to a vote and there's going to be another rally support for it?
Again, a long way to go, and depends on how the deal would pencil out. But the Mesa voters, you got to go all the way back. Remember the stadium deal with the Cardinals and how that all worked out? Well, after that, City of Mesa decided to put in their charter, was voted into their charter, that apparently every sport facility, stadium out there that would cost or $1.5 million would have to be signed off on by the voters. So if it ever got to that point, it would look like that the Coyotes, again, would have to face the voters on any particular deal in there, depending on how this deal works its way out. Now, the thing about the Mesa voter is they're an older electorate right now. They're a very conservative electorate right now. That makes it tough. But it doesn't make it impossible because, the Mesa voter out there is real tough and real tight with their tax money. But if you give them a reason, they're going to shell it out. Back in 2010, remember, the voters in Mesa went out and voted for money to help fund and approve the spring training facility for the Chicago Cubs. The thing about the Cubs, though, you got to remember, that's part of the town's identity. They're a driver of spring training, and in Mesa, they're just part of the fabric of that town. I mean, Harry Carey had a bar out there for years, so there was a connection there. If it ever got to a situation where it was a vote, again, a long way off, if it got there, do the Coyotes have that kind of connection with the town right there where if, the voters out there felt like they wanted to give approval to this, if it was going to cost any kind of extra money to support a facility like this and infrastructure upgrades or anything like that, we'd have to see how the deal pencils out. Would that voter be cool with that? That's a big question.
Yeah,
it's a big question.
Well, and I also wonder, the Coyotes were going to put up $2.1 billion and have the whole entertainment district and the real estate and everything in Tempe. If they were to just buy the land, would there still need to be a vote? Do you have any type of sense on if there might be a way that they just buy this thing outright?
They could. I mean, again, you still have to see how this all plays out. If they were to buy that land, you go back to the charter and see how that all works out. My understanding is like any big stadium deal, the voters would have to kind of do that. That's my understanding from the people in the know over at City Hall over there. And again, who owns that mall right now? Like, how would that play out, we've got to wait and see. Because again, my understanding, Coyotes are looking at all sorts of. There's there's the tribes around here.
Yep.
They could partner with them. It might be a lot easier and a lot quicker to do something like that. Or you could see somebody come out of nowhere and make a deal. And again, my understanding is that, you also got to look at what the NHL want to do. It seems like the NHL has been doing everything they can for the past 20 years to keep this organization in the Valley, in the state of Arizona. I don't think, if there was a possibility they could still stay here, I think they'd want to see that play out, right?
Right, and I mean, and I don't know if anybody else knows this except me. You actually worked on the Footprint Center. You actually worked there. That was one. So if you would have just made it bigger and we could have seen the other goal, like then they could still be playing there and they'd still be in downtown.
Little known fact about me. My first job out of high school was a construction job where I was doing fireproof. And it was what was it, America West Arena?
Yep,
it was.
yep.
I came in at the end of that. If it place ever catches on fire, I'm sure. Trust me.
It hasn't. Look, it's been great. Like, you made it. Yeah. Has it caught on fire? No, because Dennis did his job.
By the way, I was really terrible at construction, so that's why I ended up going back to school.
Well, it's worked out for you. Politics Unplugged, one of our best shows here on Arizona's Family. I always enjoy watching that on the weekends. As far as let's just talk as a sports fan here. We always talk sports here, so we always have lots of good conversations. They went to the West Valley. It was just really hard to solidify a fan base. Where do you think the Coyotes should go to see if they could own the town once again? Because there was a time in downtown when the Coyotes owned downtown and it was the place to be.
Yeah. Well, let's do this by a process of elimination almost, right? We can't go back to Glendale. I mean, I don't see that happening. They tried in Scottsdale. That didn't work out. That didn't work out in Tempe. They were in Phoenix. Could they go back to that? There's been some speculation on that. I don't know. Why not try something new with Mesa? I don't have a rooting interest in it, but it seems that, redeveloping malls is a big deal. There's a lot of landscape there. It could seem like if you could get that to work out, it might be details aside, might be a good location for something like this. Because when I was growing up, that part of Mesa was a very thriving part of the East Valley. And since, the Fiesta Mall and malls in general have been declining and decaying, that whole area went south as well. Could you get a deal out there with that? It seems like it'd be a pretty decent spot. It's not far from the freeway. It's not far from the airports, and it is a prime piece of real estate in the East Valley. I mean, if they can make that work, I'm sure Mesa would love to be able to get something that they can make work in that area because they very much want to redevelop that part.
Well, in downtown Mesa off the light rail, the first thing I thought is you just shoot the light rail over there, and you got. That's that. And it might even go because the community college is over there, right?
Yeah, you got a community college that's like larger than most colleges across the country. It's like how many people tens of thousands of people go to school over at Mesa Community College.
Right. I mean, it seems like it would be a really solid area. Do you get any sense though? I mean, have you called any other sources? Or you're like, hey, what's going on in your town? What are you guys doing?
I haven't gotten around to any other towns. I mean, Mesa. Initially, from what I'm reading and what you're reporting and everything else, you put it all together. Mesa was a place that was rumored. Now, I can say this, that, a few months ago, I was talking to some people in Mesa, and they'd also told me before all the referendum stuff or the ballot measure got heated in Tempe, there were some soft, reach out and talks from the Coyotes in Mesa about maybe the Fiesta Mall could be one of those spots. And my understanding was, and this is, based on a source, and is that, Mesa's, they're not really prepared to kind of roll out the type of incentives that we saw in Tempe, which I think ultimately kind of helped defeat that proposition just the other night. But I think, Mesa's like, we'd love to have something pencil out and work, but we're not ready to roll out the red carpet and give them everything they want.
Well, and you look at downtown Mesa too, and you're like, this place could be thriving. And I don't know that it's necessarily that close to it, but I feel like there's kind of a natural, okay, you invested in that. Yeah. If you put professional sports close by, I would think that could help.
Well, I'm jealous when I go down to downtown Mesa. Like, I grew up in the East Valley. Like, where was this when I was younger? I used to play in a band. We used to play at the Nile, and there were no other bars downtown. There was nothing else downtown in Mesa except antique stores. And now you go down there, there's breweries and restaurants, and I'm like, What's up with this? I feel robbed.
Is the band? Have we gotten the band back together? When was the last reunion show?
No, the band's not getting back together.
It's not. There's been. What was the name of the band, by the way?
Which one?
The best, the one that everybody knows around here. Yeah.
Okay. So when I was a young man, it was a band called Sam the Butcher. It was a punk band inspired by the Brady Bunch. Long story on that.
Did you ever meet him, by the way?
No, I never met him.
Is he still around? I don't know. That'd be highly
that would be kind of a great moment. And then the last band I did was post divorce. It was called The Revenge, that was a lot of fun.
Well, we need to pull the video, and
it's a young man's game. It's a young man's punk rock's for young men.
It is,
and women.
It is.
I should say.
Yes, but there's always time for a comeback.
Yeah.
So, in your heart of hearts, do you feel like the Coyotes are staying here in Arizona?
I don't know. I mean, they're a business. They're still in the business, I understand, of selling tickets, right? And they said they're going to be here in the Mullet Arena for another year. Is this just a ploy to try to get people to buy season tickets because they still want to sell out the smaller arena? Is that part of a ploy? Where's the NHL on this? I am not plugged in on that kind of thing as you are. My sense is, though, there are people that would like to have them in their community here if they could make that deal work. I mean, it's an NHL, it's a professional franchise, but clearly in Tempe that wasn't something that they wanted for a host of reasons out there. But someone like Mesa, again, I think they'd like to see that if it could work, and we have to see the details on that.
And just, I think we already went over this, but I just want to ask again because you study voting trends and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Similar voting trends in Mesa. Is this going to be uphill? Are they going to have to change the way they message this deal this time?
They better change the way they message this because they should have learned a lot from Tempe. From a distance looking at that campaign, I mean, my joke is it looks like the Coyotes play politics about as well as they play hockey. And for those who don't know, they haven't been the most successful team recently or a lot of the time.
The 2012 Western Conference Finals, I was there.
How can I forget about the 2012 Western Conference Finals? There was the whiteouts.
Yes, we're a whole white suit. Yeah. I have a picture.
So, because I think at Tempe they got tagged. It was a very passionate, dedicated grassroots campaign. They're a lower voter turnout than a regular election cycle campaign that came out. And I think they got tagged as being, the quote-unquote corrupt billionaire. They weren't able to overcome that. And I think voters generally now are a little bit suspect of arenas if they involve public, support in any way. And so the idea of giving a billionaire 20, 30 years of tax breaks on the back end, I think that just didn't sit well with Tempe voters who have, a different attitude towards those things. Like I said, in Mesa, they are very tight-fisted with their tax dollars, but if you give them the reason and a good rationale for it, they will back something. Again, just like that spring training facility in Phoenix, but they need to figure out how to message that, and that's above my pay grade.
Well, you are getting texted that I think they need you for the 6 o'clock show to discuss this more on.
They can wait. They can wait.
They can. Get this man a raise, Dennis Welch. Get his pay grade up there. Hey, this is awesome. We always talk sports.
Yep.
It's been a while since we've talked, and
we always talk too about doing a podcast of blending the two.
Yes. What do we call that, by the way?
I don't know. We'll figure
Revenge?
that out. We'll figure that out
Sam the Butcher?
when we get you on the politics.
Oh
podcast,
yes, I have lots.
Which
of
will be
opinions.
launching soon, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When can we find that?
It'll be a few weeks.
Okay.
Okay. I got vacation coming up, and shortly after that.
And then when can we see Politics Unplugged? It airs on Sundays at
5:30 in the morning and 5:30 in the afternoon.
Awesome. And then
we dominate the 5:30 space.
There we go. It's so nice you can see it twice. This would be great, man.
That's awesome.
Appreciate the time. The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.